I just recorded.
Perfect. So there we can, I'll go ahead and be cognizant of everybody's time and get right started, and then be recording so that we can then post the slides and all the information later on for anyone who wants to hear what was discussed. So thank you all for coming and being interested in what Ray United FC is planning for our summer trip in 2022. Just off the bat, we just have to say how excited we are to be finally being able to facilitate trips again. It's been a long 2 years, 2.5 years already. It'll be 3 years by the time we get back into the field after COVID. So we're really excited to be able to facilitate trips again. And so this year's trip, we're planning lots of activity between July 20th and August 7th. So tonight I'm going to kind of go over what the plan for the trip is, as well as the logistics and costs, and answer any questions that you may have. So you can go ahead and put questions into the chat. And then Nicole, I'm sure you can see those chats and you can tell me what the questions are, since I've had to minimize everything.
Yep.
Okay, so just a little bit of background for those of you who are new to Ray United FC. Ray United was founded in 2014 after a trip by Ray Whipfley to Uganda, in which he had the opportunity to engage in soccer with a bunch of children in a rural village, and was able to come back and use that experience to launch a fundraising campaign to bring soccer training and camps to the village. That has spiraled into a much larger initiative that's much more than anything Ray or I or anyone at the time could have imagined. And we'll talk a little bit more about all what that involves, but specifically trips and bringing students and volunteers to Uganda to participate in programming and community-based programming has been going on since 2015, with the exception of 2020 and 2021 due to COVID. We've hosted dozens and dozens of students, young professionals, as well as adults and kind of even, older professionals who have participated in Ray United trips and in other immersion programs to date. So we've really had tons of people participate, and I'm going to show you a little bit about valuations, but have had really successful trips in the past. We've also reached well over 5,000 Ugandan youth with Ray United programming in the field. Here's just some of the evaluation results that we got from one of our most recent trips in 2019, and gives you a little bit of an idea about kind of the level of satisfaction with the programming, where we had an overall rating of 4.9 out of 5 by all participants. So these were dozens of participants who participated in 2019, as well as nearly every single one would recommend the program to others. And we're also very satisfied with the value of the trip. Food's a little bit lower, and I'm going to talk a little bit about food in Uganda in just a moment. Transportation was excellent. Lodging was also good, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the lodging and how we've even improved since 2019. We got a 5 on our actual activities and the programs that we're running, as well as very high scores in relation to the interaction that you gain with Ugandans during the trip. Some quotes from past participants include things like, "I found myself," "I gained a deeper connection with Uganda and the people, and an extremely strong sense of empathy and love for Uganda and its culture and people. I was impressed with how well organized the trip was. I enjoyed meeting so many inspiring people, and I really enjoyed talking to the locals." So it gives you a little bit of a feel what people had to say coming right off the trip in terms of their own personal reflections, their positive interactions and experience with Ugandans and Ugandan culture, as well as the overall management of the trip. So in terms of this summer, we have a few main activities that we'll be engaged in. The first is Splash Camp. And the goal of our Splash Camp is to teach children in a local community around Lake Victoria, which is the second largest lake in the world, about water safety, drowning prevention, first aid, and swim survival skills. Drowning is a leading cause of death in sub-Saharan Africa, with about 5,000 deaths a year occurring in Uganda alone. So it's a major public health challenge, and we're excited to be one of the few organizations that are really focused on this really neglected public health problem. And then we're also going to be continuing on with our soccer and health camp, which will be our 6th version of this camp, in which we bring children from local schools in the rural Ugandan, a rural community in northern Uganda. And we have professional soccer coaches who run soccer clinics, while we and volunteers from Makerere University and young health professionals in Uganda deliver all types of workshops focused on public health issues, including sanitation, hygiene, sexual and reproductive health, mental health, risky behaviors like alcohol and tobacco use. So we're exposing them to lots of really important public health challenges while they're having fun, dancing, singing, and importantly, playing soccer. And then finally, we have the opportunity to explore Uganda, both physically and culturally. So we get to spend time in Uganda's capital, Kampala, as well as in Jinja, which is located on Lake Victoria, and is where the Nile River begins its journey to the Mediterranean, and we will visit the source of the Nile River. We'll also go on safari to Murchison Falls National Park, which has most of the big game you could imagine that you see, on the videos: giraffes, lions, hippopotamuses, the occasional leopard can be spotted. It's a fantastic, quick experience in safari. We'll also have the opportunity to do homestays. This is usually one of the most powerful experiences that our volunteers reflect on. And so this is an overnight that we have with Ugandan families in their home, in which you cook over an open fire, you help fetch your own water, you share stories late into the night. We say everyone kind of gathers around in the evening after dinner around a fire, and we share stories, we listen to music, we sing music, and we really connect at a very personal level with our community members. And then we sleep under mosquito nets in a thatched hut. So you can see from this picture the kind of environment, the ability to really relax and spend time with children and with families at their homes without the pressure to really deliver anything. It's just really just a sharing experience. And then we also have the opportunity throughout the entire program, whether it's the splash camp or whether it's the soccer camp, or just in between as well, to collaborate with young Ugandan health professionals. So we work very closely with and learn from young Ugandan health professionals and students from Makerere University. And I think this is probably one of the most valuable aspects of the program from an educational perspective, in which we go to learn not only the facts and figures and the technical know-how and skills to deliver public health programming on the ground, but we also are educated about the capacity, the incredible strengths, the incredible technical skills and knowledge of the young professionals in Uganda, and how much they are already giving back in their own country and have to give to the entire world in terms of their potential. And here's just a few more pictures of the homestay and the type of experience that students and all participants gain during that night. It's always a favorite. Wanted to say just a few words about our partners, because we are very integrated into the communities and into the programs that we're working on. And we're definitely not just a kind of parachute in kind of intervention group that leaves and doesn't have any sustainability. And I really want to emphasize that we've been running these programs, we've been in the field doing research and service and programming with these partners for many, many years now. In Northern Uganda, we're partnered with Children's Chance International, which is a community-based organization that partners with us on our Youth Public Health Ambassador program, as well as our World Malaria Day events, our World AIDS Day events, as well as the soccer camp. In terms of our Splash Safe Camp, we're working with Swim Safe Uganda, which is the largest drowning prevention organization nonprofit in Uganda. They're partnered very closely, and through them, we're partnered very closely with the Ministry of Health Uganda. We're also with the Red Cross, with the National Police, and other kind of consortium of national organizations working on drowning prevention in Uganda. And then finally, we work very closely with Makerere University students and faculty. So here's some really specific itinerary for the trip that we're planning. The plan is to leave on Wednesday, July 20th from the United States, wherever you may be. There'll obviously be a big cohort coming from Los Angeles, but no matter where you are in the country, we can fly. We can either meet at a meeting place in the middle in Europe or in the Middle East. It's oftentimes layovers are in Amsterdam, Brussels, Istanbul, or Dubai. We haven't purchased the tickets yet, but that's kind of where we usually fly to a location like that and then fly on to Uganda. So we can meet anywhere in between or in Entebbe in Uganda. So the trip takes 2 days technically to arrive. It's not technically 2 days, but with time change, it takes 2 dates on the calendar to arrive. So we arrive early in the morning on Friday, July 22nd at Entebbe International Airport, and we'll be transported to Rest Gardens, which is the resort that we will be hosting the splash camp at, and we'll spend the first half of the trip at. We will, on the 23rd, work together to prepare for the splash camp and also for International Drowning Prevention Day. We'll do a facilitator training to make sure that we have all types of techniques and expectations ready for how to work together as a team, as well as how to reach young people with dynamic, interactive programming. And we'll just bond as a team. We'll have a great time. We have a lot of experience with that. And it's always really a highlight of the trip is bringing the team together. I was mentioning to students yesterday about what do our international volunteers bring, and they bring a lot of fun. They make it really a cultural exchange and a bonding experience as well as just work. And so on Sunday, on the July 24th, we're going to celebrate International Drowning Prevention Day. International Drowning Prevention Day is technically on the 25th. It's a global celebration facilitated by the World Health Organization. Since we are going to be having a large event and we're bringing in partners from throughout the country to a location at a school with a swimming pool where we're going to be hosting various water polo matches between, for example, the Ugandan national water polo team, the Makerere University water polo team. Hopefully enough water polo players from the United States will come, or the rest of us will jump in as well and pretend we're water polo players for a little international matchup, as well as some swim races, and this whole idea of celebrating water sports and the idea that water is not scary, but if you know how to swim, it can be a location and a venue for fun, athletic, competitive experiences. And then we'll also have a number of talks and presentations from leading drowning prevention advocates and organizations in the country. So that's going to be a large, most of the day event that we'll be facilitating and bringing in all types of groups and volunteers for, as well as bringing our Splash Camp youth that will be participating to Drowning Prevention Day to get them excited about camp, which will start the next day. So Monday through Thursday, we'll run the 4-day camp programming at Rest Gardens, the resort where we're staying. And Well, there's a lot of details to be shared about this camp, but the general idea is that we'll break the youth. There'll be 50 youth coming each day for 4 days. We'll break them into small groups. They will go around and rotate through these stations. That will have stations on water and sanitation. We'll have a station focused on community drowning prevention, like the need for signage, lifeguards, fencing, and barriers to areas of danger in water, how to recognize dangerous water conditions, as well as a station focused on actually learning to swim. We'll break the groups up in even smaller groups and teach them literally how to swim. We have swimming instructors from Uganda who will be present there to teach the youth how to swim. And then we'll have a station focused on splash ball or introduction to water polo, where the youth will be put into a flotation, like life jackets or other flotation devices, and will be allowed to play water polo without worrying about drowning, of course, or having to swim too much. So we'll have a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of information and skill building over these 4 days. And our hope is that at the end of the 4 days, we can certify these youth as swimmers and as little youth ambassadors in drowning prevention in their community. After Splash Camp, we have a day where we're going to go to Jinja and visit the source of the Nile and have a little bit of relaxation and downtime. And then on Saturday, July 30th, we'll travel to Murchison Falls, which is in northern Uganda. So it's about a 7 to 8 hour drive. On the way, about halfway, we stop at a rhino sanctuary, which is just an amazing, awesome place where it feels like you're out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a safari, but they have rhinos in a protected sanctuary environment where they've been trying to bring them back into the wild in Uganda. And we're able to like hike out and get very close to the rhinos in a very natural habitat. So it's a very fun stop. And then we will overnight in the safari park in a nice safari lodge. The next day, we will, during those 2 days, we will go on a game drives. We will see all kinds of animals. We'll also go on a boat ride, a boat safari up the Nile, where we'll also see lots of wildlife. So again, elephants, giraffes, lions, warthogs, all of the kinds of impalas and different types of deers. Really everything that you can expect from an African safari is present in Murchison Falls. We'll leave the safari park on Sunday and drive to Lira, where we will meet with the ambassador families and do our homestay. And then the next day we will check into a hotel in Lira and do any type of recovering that we need and showering, and then start our pre-camp preparations for the soccer camp. The soccer camp will be 4 days this year, from August 2nd to August 5th. And then on the evening or on the morning of the 6th, we'll quickly drive back to Kampala. We'll have some shopping time and have a group dinner, and then be prepared to depart for the United States on the 7th of August. So that's our current itinerary. And then I just wanted to go over a few specific logistics for the trip. So the first is the cost. And I know I'm going to start there because that's where everybody wants to know like what's included. So we're estimating the cost will be about $3,000 per individual. And this includes the expected, like everything you can imagine, flights, room, board, all activities planned. Like this is how much we think it would cost any individual person. We're estimating out of that 1,300 or 3,000 that about 1,200 is for the flight. We can help facilitate the flight for you if you would like us to, but you can also purchase it individually. And of course, if you use miles or something, you can bring down the costs dramatically. The food and lodging is about $1,200 for the 18 days of the trip. And most of the time, the lodging is rather inexpensive and the food as well. But we do have a few nights, for example, at the Safari Lodge, which raises the price a bit, but overall you can see that it is not a huge amount of money per day for lodging and food. Activities, we have about $200. We have $200 budgeted, which includes a boat ride on Lake Victoria to the source of the Nile, the visit to the Rhino Safari Park, the entry into the Murchison Falls Safari Park, as well as the boat safari in the park. We will be driven around with a guide as well on all the game drives, and that's all included. And then there's a $400 kind of donation to Ray United for the program. As part of this, you would receive a shirt, a sweatshirt, a bag, other swag and materials that are used for the programming and the facilitation fee, with all the costs that it takes us, helping us offset how much it takes to bring all the youth together, all of their transportation, their food, all of the workbooks and other materials that we provide through the programming. So I think if you look at the breakdown, it's as least as inexpensive as we possibly could make an experience like this for you. There's really no fat included at all. In terms of what you need to be able to travel, visas are required for travel to Uganda. The visa applications have to be completed within 3 months of travel. It takes about 48 hours at most to receive. You just fill out an online application and you usually get notification and the visa within a day or two. It's very, very easy. But to apply, you have to have, of course, a valid passport, a recent passport size photograph of yourself, which you can take with your phone, as well as your yellow fever vaccination certificate. And there's the website, and I would share that with you. In terms of your vaccination, talk a little bit about health. All travelers to Uganda must have a valid yellow fever certificate, and it must be kept with travel documents at all times. And so if you don't yet have a yellow fever vaccination, you would have to get that in advance. Sometimes yellow fever vaccines can be in short supply. I don't believe they are at this moment, given the lack of recent demand for travel. But it's important to make that appointment sooner rather than later in case there is shortages. WHO also recommends additional vaccines for Uganda, including typhoid, cholera, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, rabies, meningitis, measles, mumps, and rubella, and influenza. Not all of those are necessary in advance. For example, rabies can be extremely expensive to get preventively. And so if you wanted to not take that in advance, it is possible. Obviously, we're going to be very careful to avoid any rabid dogs or any type of environment that would have rabid dogs. There has been a case in the past when we've taken someone who did have an interaction with a dog who was in all likelihood not rabid, but just to be 100% sure, did receive then the rabies kind of prophylactic vaccine on the spot in Uganda at the time, and very, very easily. So you're recommended to take malaria pills. It's not on here, but we should add it, that malaria pills are recommended for the trip, especially given the amount of time we're going to be kind of outside, maybe not dressed completely if we're at the splash camp, as well as time in northern Uganda, which has higher malaria rates. So definitely you want to get malaria pills before you go. We're also asking that everyone is fully vaccinated for COVID-19. In terms of COVID-19, all travelers must have a negative PCR test no more than 72 hours before departure from the US and from Uganda to the US. You'd be responsible for getting your test within the United States, and then testing will be provided at the hotel the day before our departure. I was just in Uganda a couple weeks ago, and I went through this process, and it was very easy. And just to also alleviate fears, I had some travel delays on the way there, and it was not a problem with the kind of 72-hour deadline of the test. It was all acceptable, and I was easily allowed into the country and then also allowed out. We're asking that volunteers get additional emergency coverage from International SOS. It's $100 a person, and we provide the website just to be overtly, like kind of overly protected, so that if anything happens and you needed to be medevaced out of the country, that would be automatic and covered, and we wouldn't have to think twice about accessing those types of services. Just another kind of mention about health. There's a few other things. You know, we drink bottled water all the time. Even brushing our teeth, we use bottled water. I have one kind of overall rule for volunteers when they go with me, and that is that you don't ride on bodas or motorcycles because they are dangerous. And so we are very cognizant of kind of the dangers in the country that exist, and we avoid them at all costs. And we also do have experience dealing with health emergencies. We had, for example, during the very first year of taking students to Uganda, I had a student come down with appendicitis on the very first night that we were in a rural village, and had to emergency transport her back to Kampala for surgery. And so I'm very well aware of the private hospitals that are terrific and safe and clean, where if in the case of an absolute emergency, we could receive service in the country. So I'm pretty confident about any health challenges. In terms of transportation, all the volunteers are responsible for their air travel, although we can help you, again, coordinate it. And then once we're in Uganda, all volunteers will be picked up from the airport and transported together at all times in a group bus. This is a picture in the bus, and I just wanted to highlight outside, you can see Abdul is here. That's the gentleman out of the window, and he is our driver and our logistics coordinator and kind of our overall boss during the whole trip. And he, for example, is helping identify and like collect any type of street food. If we want to have an experience of eating some street food, Abdul's in charge, and he's, for example, perhaps over there where they're cooking the food directly on the grill, and he's picking it up directly off the grill and handing it to us, so that there's very little chance of contamination. But I wanted to share really quickly just a quick video. Let me see if I can bring it up really quickly, of Abdul, to give you an idea of his personality and just kind of make you feel a little bit more kind of comfortable with the people who we are working with. So here is a video quickly of Abdul.
Abdul Wagwa, I am reunited. I'm a driver, and when I'm driving, I always do my best. At the end of the day, we become friends. I'm very grateful working with this group, the Reunited, because we have started from far. Like Mama Ray, he met me in 2012, I think. My schooling was a bit not easy. I stopped in primary 7, but it was difficult for my parents to pay my school fees. I speak more than 10 languages. I speak the Lusoga, I speak Samia, I speak the Nubian, I speak Lugwere. It helps me a lot because in speaking those languages here, they can listen you easily, they become friendly easily to you. In that process, we become friends.
Okay. So, can you see it? I'm not sharing. Wait, hold on. I kind of bring it back. Abdul is an extraordinarily important part of our team. And again, it's one of the reasons why our volunteers and participants always report kind of feeling incredibly safe at all times during our trips and well taken care of. And part of that is a lot to do with Abdul, who does speak all the languages, the local languages, who knows the country extraordinarily well, who always knows how to kind of navigate our situations so that we are incredibly successful, well-liked everywhere we go, popular, and safe. mentioned I would say a few words about the food. So all meals are provided throughout the camp programs. And so there's not much need to like kind of go out and find food at any time. Volunteers will occasionally be responsible for covering their meals while sightseeing. And I just wanted to kind of point out that Ugandan food is starch heavy. So typical meals include beans, rice, posho, which is like grits, cassava, stewed chicken, or goat. And then there is a lot of fruits growing wild and available. So you can see some passion fruit, bananas, pineapple that was available, avocado. And where we are in the north, there's always an exceptionally large amount of mangoes everywhere. So people like to eat mangoes throughout the day. And again, we are very careful about the food. So most of the food that we eat is always well cooked, or it has covers like peel on it. So we don't use food that's kind of been washed by dirty water and that's been cooked and sterilized. We're very careful. Just a word about the lodging. So here's some pictures of the different types of areas. This is the lodge, the Chobe Lodge in Murchison Falls. There's a picture of the apartments, the students at apartments in Kampala that we stay in. So they're really nice. We always have flush toilets. We have like piped water. We have mosquito nets available in all our places that we stay. They're often air conditioned. So we're definitely not roughing it for the vast majority of the time. And there's also Wi-Fi, and I'll come back to that. In terms of money, it's recommended to bring about $30 a day. You won't need it on most days, but we will have the opportunity to go and souvenir shop and buy various things at the markets if you want. You can get money at ATMs, so you don't even need to take it in advance. You can just take it out directly when you're in the country. And we also do know where to go get the money exchanged if you bring cash. In terms of internet access, we'll have good Wi-Fi internet access at all the hotels. So in the evenings, you'll always be able to access the internet and communicate. There's also very strong service in rural areas if you have your data roaming on. And I just always like to note that T-Mobile has unlimited roaming access at all times. I have T-Mobile, and so I'm accessible via phone and internet at all times throughout the trip. So I definitely feel connected. I'm oftentimes, when doing homestays, in my hut under my malaria net, FaceTiming with my mother. So the connectivity is extremely good. And finally, just a comment or two about the timeline. We're hoping that we can have most, if not all, participants have confirmed their participation by May 15th and provide a $500 deposit. So that we can really start confirming and making all the reservations that are necessary. By June, it's time to purchase your air ticket and get your vaccinations. By July 1st, we're asking that all the forms, we have a few forms that are just commitments of like kind of behavior kind of commitments. And as well as the rest of the payment is paid. And then to apply for your Ugandan visa, get your COVID test on the 18th, and then be ready to go on July 19th. So finally, we're going to be providing more information at reunitedfc.org. That's the website. It's I'm struggling right now to gain access. I should get it tonight, and I'll update the information on the site. But in the meantime, you can always contact myself for more information, or Penny, who's our project manager in Uganda, who can answer as well any questions about the trip that you may have. So that's some of the kind of prepared information that I had for the trip. And do we have any questions in the chat? Not so far? Okay, well, while you think of questions, I was just gonna share maybe 2 more videos really quick that might give you as well a good idea about some of the programming that we offer and give you some kind of visual cues about what we're doing. So here's, for example, a video. I'm going to show one or two of former participants, as well as locals who participate in our programming. They're each 1 minute, so I'll just take another 2 minutes of your time to show these.
Richie, I am reunited. I just completed my first year as a freshman at University of Southern California studying global health. I'm a swim instructor back home, so I love working with kids. I love being with kids, and then obviously, you know, my passion in life is global health and public health and promoting health worldwide. And sports, of course, because I've played sports my whole life. I love traveling. I've been to many places. Some of a few would be Fiji, Southeast Asia, Peru, a bunch of places in Europe. I think for me, it's always about the experiences. You know, I'm never as happy as I am when I'm someplace new, like nothing's completely sure. I don't really ever know what's going on, but I love the thrill of it, and I love meeting people, especially making friends from all over. So I think that's one of the most valuable things that anyone could ever have in life.
All right, so hopefully in that you got a feeling for kind of the type of work that Nicole, or sorry, I'm looking at Nicole, that Ava was involved in, which was like delivering curriculum to the youth, dancing, bonding with her fellow instructors and her colleagues in Uganda, and kind of having this really enriching experience. And then I'll share one other video. Maybe I'll share two more because I love them so much. But here is a video that is of the other side, our Ugandan colleagues.
My name is Abdul and I am reunited. I finished medical school from Makerere University. In January, I'm going to graduate as a medical doctor. I'm from the western part of Uganda. Access to doctors in the villages was quite limited, as I grew up, I didn't see any doctor. My brother, who was the third born, passed on when I was in year one of medical school. They told us he had raised pressure in the brain, but the cause is not known. So after which he was given some other medication, but he passed on as we were still investigating. I think if we had better health care, the diagnosis could be made early and maybe it would save him. I think this camp is good because children are engaged in activities that help them learn about things like health and how to prevent diseases. I would want to help my community. I would want to go back and work in the community.
Okay, so I just think that that's a really important video in seeing the other side, that this program is very much Ugandan led and Ugandan kind of facilitated, and having role models like Abel in the community for the local youth is really empowering and motivating to the community that we're working in and to these kids. And so that's a really important part of our program. And they not only inspire the kids in the community, but they inspire us, and they show us just how amazing and capable our young Ugandan colleagues are. And I hope that, you know, they become our collaborators in the years to come, as many of our students and volunteers go off to different careers. So I'll show one final video. I just didn't know which one to choose. There's so many. We have actually 20 videos of various stakeholders that participate in our programs, but I wanted to share one more, which was who we're talking to. So here's a Brenda, who is one of the youth that's participating in soccer camp.
My name is Ajwang Brenda. I am reunited. I am 17. My favorite subject is chemistry and biology. I am planning to be a nurse when I grow older, to help people who are sick and to guide them in a good way. In my village, we don't have running water. We have a well. What I was building is a tip tap. I look for a rope and tied it in another stick. And I put the rope here. Maybe it is difficult for some people, but for me, I find it easy. I do like this and I wash my hands.
Okay, so again, brilliant people like Brenda, who are the youth that we're working with bright futures that just need to be kind of helped along and mentored and facilitated. So maybe gives you an idea of our USC students who participate, the Makaruri students and young professionals who are out on the ground, as well as the students, as well as Abdul. Together, it becomes just a really wonderful community and a team. And I hope that you'll join our team this year and you'll won't regret it. That's my promise. So does anybody have any questions? Anyone who's on have anything they wanted to ask? Did I cover everything? Seems hard to believe. I've touched on everything. I will promise to get the website up in the next 24 hours so that you can find all this information online, as well as a kind of a place to put in your confirmation and deposit. Because we're excited to have our team confirmed for the summer and start making our final plans. Okay. Well, thanks guys for joining. And
Thanks, Dr. Whipley.
Dr. Whipley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.